Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I am wonderful. I'm amazing. How did, your journey start in terms of
It
music?
started very early for me. So it's kind of funny because my first lyrics I ever wrote were in English,
Uh,
and English is actually my fourth language.
wow.
So I started writing at the age of between like 9 and 10, and then learned so much from like just studying you know, TV shows, movies, like other singers, especially like Mariah Carey, Whitney Houston, Alicia Keys, Christina Aguilera. Like I would just sing their songs and then write them down on paper. And if there were words I didn't know, I would look them up in like an English dictionary.
That's amazing.
I'm born in
Or there's
Sweden,
okay.
so Swedish. My parents are Finnish and Persian, so Finnish and Persian because of them.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Did you ever come to that kind of like feeling, that point where it's like this is too hard?
Yeah, I mean many times, honestly, because it is a very, very hard business to do a lot, and also I think it has a lot to do with like there's so many different personalities, and everyone has their reason to why they're there,
Right.
so they can't always be there for you, even though that's what you would like, in a perfect world. But everyone has their agendas, and then there are a lot of people who come into the business for other reasons than anything positive or trying to get ahead or become successful. They just kind of see opportunities to take advantage of people. So there are a lot of like moments where you're like where you realize that it's not about the art and the music and your talent always. Sometimes there are other things that play into the whole like scheme or whatever you want to call it. The thing is that whenever I've gone through my hardest times in life, I feel like those were the times that pushed me into wanting this more.
Wow.
Like I've had like a few experiences where I was like, I almost lost my life or I lost my freedom. I lost everything that I had. But literally in those moments, I was like, this is what I want to do. I knew it
Mm.
more than ever.
Wow.
Right. So I don't know. I feel like whenever I wanted to quit was when I was exhausted. Like whenever there were times where I would work for 24 hours, sleep for two, work for 24 hours again, and sleep for 2 hours. Like I think that kind of put me in a space where I was like, this isn't fun anymore. It's your passion, but it kind of like, it, all of a sudden you feel like this is not what I love anymore. But then you realize it's not the music, it's the other parts that
Right.
you kind of don't love about it.
So you said really when it came down to almost losing your life, losing your freedom, and going through some really hard times, those were the times that more so like pushed you to want to keep going, to actually even push harder. And there's that like cliche saying, when your back is up against the wall, it shows what what you're made of. And
Yeah.
and
I get
and like
chills.
I know when you were talking, I was getting chills too. When we go through those times, maybe they are those, those nudges that, the universe or God or whatever person believes in, it's for you. Because I truly believe
True.
that in life, whatever happens to you, it happens for you, not just to you. And
100%.
yeah,
Yeah.
when a person just feels constantly like, why is this happening to me? I don't
Yeah.
understand it. It's unfair. And you know what? Like life is unfair. Nobody ever promised that it was going to be that way.
Yeah.
But when you have the opportunity to go through something terrible and really hard and you come out of it, then you got to prove to yourself, show yourself how resilient and strong you are. And hearing the fact that, you went through something like that, and then
Right.
now here you are, that's amazing and that's incredible.
I love the part where you said when your back is against the wall and like when you like almost lose your life, because it was somebody who said something really interesting, is that because when I almost lost my life, it really, really, I think that was the moment where like I was like, if I don't do this now, I could have lost my life
Mm-hmm.
not having done what I really wanted to do.
Right.
And I thought already that I was a hard worker, which I am, but I thought I was doing the right thing already.
Mm-hmm.
But I wasn't. I was like, there's so much more that I have to give to, propel forward. You can't be in a space or like a mindset of like of fear.
Yes.
That should be a space and a mindset of like um just like living your life the way you want it. So it's not like I'm gonna die, it's I'm gonna live. I was a waitress at a sports bar, and I was telling the other waitresses, I was like, this is what I'm gonna do, this is my plan. And I remember them laughing in my face like,
wow.
yeah,
I
right,
was
you're
gonna
gonna
ask
stay
that.
here
I'm
like
like,
the
what
rest of
response?
us. And it was so funny because I did go to a music college in LA, and that's what, you know, placed me in LA, because I got accepted to MI in Hollywood.
And
Yeah.
then here you are, you know, you're in a whole different country, other side of the world. You're telling people, hey, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to completely leave this country, go all the way to the United States of America because I want to pursue music. And they laugh in your face. They literally laugh in your face. And you
Literally,
know what made you be able to do that and make that jump?
I don't know. I'm thinking it's a couple of things maybe. Like, first of all, my parents are both immigrants, and I feel like in a sense they kind of followed their dreams as well. And I think the fact that so many people didn't believe me and were kind of like, haha, you're going to be here like the rest of us, that kind of did also push me. So like, positive or negative, I probably just like turned it around into something positive and something motivating, rather than let it, you know, beat me down. I feel like today we have way more access to successful people, for example, like on Instagram, YouTube, online, anywhere. Like if we're looking for inspiration and motivation, we can just go to a video on YouTube, or we can go to somebody's Instagram page and be like, how are they doing it?
Exactly.
So yeah, I think that plays a big role in, like, you know, people having bigger dreams and visions nowadays, because we can see it. We can see that it's possible more than ever.
When it comes to like, I mean, you've already given a lot of like great nuggets to everybody. So when it comes to though, I think specifically for, you know, like creatives, I know that creative people have a hard time focusing, or being organized, I guess you could say, because, you know, they're always wanting to either write or, you know, or whatever it is that you do, you know, in terms of like your music creation process. So how do you help yourself in being able to, you know, really kind of keep your music career together and your creative process?
My manager had to help me a lot with that. So he kind of put me in line with like, okay, this is what you do now, this is what you do next. So he kind of helped me with that, because I'm very scattered. I can be like, oh my God, I can do this, and I'm going to do this and this. And like, then, you know, it doesn't work that way. But people kind of ask me sometimes, it's funny because people ask me like, why aren't you in the studio all the time? And I'm like, because I don't need to. First of all, you know, obviously it's great to be in the studio and be creative and create and, you know, all that stuff. But if you're trying to do this as a career, there are other aspects that you really have to work on as well, right? But for me, I think the fact that how expensive it is to record in a recording studio, that kind of like pushed me into a space of, okay, I need to be productive during these hours, like hyper productive. And I think that helped me a lot with like just being super productive in, for example, in my waking hours, like whenever I'm up, because people often ask me as well, like, don't you ever sleep? And I'm like, I do, but I'm just really productive when I'm up. So I think it had to do with it just being really expensive to spend too much. So time is money, you know? So if you spend too much time kind of just like chilling and doing what you think that people do in studios, like, because I noticed that happened a lot with other artists. I would come into the studio and it would be a lot of like, oh, I'm gonna chill and drink, I'm gonna take a nap, and I'm like, this is not how it works. I come in, I know what I'm gonna do.
Right.
You know? Unless it's a free studio and you just get to go and like, you know, write and co-produce or record or do whatever, then that's fine. And I love that space because it gives you time to be creative and to be relaxed creative. But yeah, I think time is money, that concept like played a big role in me just understanding that I have to be super productive when the time is there. Also because you kind of have to, in certain moments, you have to know certain things. Like you can lose big time if you don't know certain things about recording and the rights to your songs and stuff like that. So Definitely by listening to other people and just keeping my ears open to like what you gotta do, how you gotta do it. To protect yourself, you kind of have to. I was actually in the studio with a very, very like one of the top songwriters in the industry. And he explained a really important thing to me that I had no idea of. So he said a lot of people get credit on a song that they didn't write only for the fact that they were just in the studio with him. And he's been sued a lot of times because of that. Because he's like, you didn't write this, I wrote it. Like, it's big songs. It's like hit songs, the top hit songs that he's written. And people would claim that they were, you know, just because of the fact that they were there, they're like, yeah, I was there to write the song. I inspired this part. I did that part. And he's actually been sued so many times. And he had to like fight them in court for that little thing that he just brought a friend to the studio or somebody's friend, you know?
Wow. You know, would you say then your advice to, you know, people come like kind of coming in and having like no clue about the industry at all, or even the writing process, would you say that, you know, that's something that they need to understand and they need to learn about before they even step into a situation like that?
Yeah, especially if you do it with, you know, people who are kind of further ahead in their career.
Yeah.
Definitely like, you know, be on your guard a bit when it comes to that, because no matter how nice they are personally in business, they might be very savage, and that might be the reason to why they're so far ahead as well.
That's a good point. How do you still stay true to who you are in your light, you know, when you know that you may have to come across or deal with people that, you know, are not like that?
Um, Again, I feel like my manager has kind of kept me in line with that, because he knows how I am. He knows that I can be very like, oh, like everybody's so nice and everything's so good. So he's kind of had to be like my guide when it comes to that, because I definitely do need it. One really important thing is that the further ahead you get, the more you realize that you don't need all these people. Like you don't need, like, there's, I feel like a lot of art, especially me, like in the beginning when I first started, I was like, oh, I need these people, like I need them to know me, I need them to help me, I need them to, you know, whatever. But I realized that the more I did on my own, the more I realized I'm like, I don't need them. It's the same with, you know, record labels. It's like they want you once your numbers are up. I'm like, why would I want you when my numbers are up? Because that means I have a good team already in place.
Because that mentality right there, I think also goes across the board for a lot of things. And I can probably assume that even in your personal life, that you kind of take that same approach. I love that, you know, and it sounds like too that you have a great manager. And I know that is a really hard thing for a lot of people to find the right combination of who's going to be on their team. So how did that situation come about?
The most important part that he said to me, it literally made me want to cry, because he was the first person in the industry who understood my vision, who understood what I wanted to do. Not only that, he understood who I really was, because at the time I was kind of presenting myself incorrectly to everyone else. So like, it was like the real me wasn't coming across in the right way. So people would often misunderstand me and who I am. I don't want to like restrict myself in that way. I want to create the music that I like. And before I said that out loud to him, he said it to me. And I remember the moment. I had just left my vocal coach. I was in Camden Town. It was raining. I was standing with an umbrella, and he said it to me on the phone. And I was like, he's the one. Like, he gets me, you know? Right. So I was like, dude, I want to cry. Like, you're the first person who understood me without me having to try and explain it.
I mean, and it's hard. It's tough because people are preying upon, you know, your dreams and your visions. But again,
100%.
You know,
yeah,
like,
and you get excited when they get in touch with you, because you're like, oh my God, I'm gonna make it.
Yeah.
You know,
but that goes back to the point about what you were saying when it comes to like validation that every individual seeks, that it's really important though for you to really validate yourself. It's not the people that make you. You are already you. You're already yourself, right? But the team is going to help lift you higher, give you knowledge maybe that you don't know, teach you, support you, encourage you, uplift you, right? There's a lot of artists that don't do it. It's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of, you know, sleepless hours, and you can crash. And if you're just
Oh
drinking
yeah.
and smoking and like getting to all those other things, then that's not going to
Mhm.
give you, the long-term longevity that you need to
Yeah,
survive.
that I understand them. I understand the people who turn to drugs and alcohol and all those things. I'm like, after doing this for so many years, I understand them. I get it because it is hard and it is really taxing on your mental, your mentality or your mental.
What were the tools in your toolbox that helped you so then that you were able to, not turn to going insane or to other things?
Um, I think like after my biggest breakdown, I literally had a proper breakdown at one point. But that again, like these things happen to push you into just finding, things that, you would need in your toolbox, like you say. Um, I think for me was just kind of getting back to myself, reading a lot of like stuff about law of attraction, for example, helped me a lot, just like how to be more grateful, how to write down, your list with things that you're grateful for every day, that kind, because that puts you in a different frequency.
Mm-hmm.
So it automatically just, let's say you're like in a really bad mood, you write down 10 things that you're grateful for, and you write also why you're grateful for them, and you
Mm.
go through them, you really thank the universe or God or whatever you believe in for them. It does change your frequency to a better one. But I mean, I worked a lot with like essential oils
Mm-hmm.
and just natural herbs and stuff like that, just to like calm me down so that I could be a bit more clear-minded, because I had days that I couldn't get out of bed, and I needed something to like get me out of bed because my work was still really important to me.
Right.
The same day of my breakdown, I went and wrote one of my songs called Promise You Got Me. So I think again, um, like when really bad things happen to you, when you're like in your worst space in your life, I feel like again that puts you in a space where you're like, what do I love? What do I really love
Mm.
to do? I think also like trying to return to the creative part when you're in your worst state of mind, just like trying return to like whatever you feel like is your creative thing that you love to do. For me, it's drawing, recording, writing music. Um, so whenever I'm recording at home, it's okay. This has like two parts to it. So first of all, I zone out. I get to a space where I'm so zoned out that nothing else matters. Like nothing matters, just your voice and whatever music you're working with. And it's not work, is
Right.
something you love to do, right? And you know how like the power of now
Yeah.
like matters a lot. So like as much as I'm zoned out in those moments, I really am in that moment fully
Mm-hmm.
as well. So I think doing things that, you know, creative things, because I am a creative. So I love to sing, I love to write, I love to draw. Like anything that's creative, it zones me out, but it also puts me in that moment where I'm not thinking about anything bad in the past or worried about the future. I'm just in that moment doing what I
Like
love.
anytime we get way too overwhelmed, and you just have to remind yourself, like, in this moment right now, you're okay, you're
Yeah.
safe, you're, nothing from the past can get you, and the future, it's coming anyway. And so just right now,
Yeah.
stay present. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the teaching of the power of now. The power of the now is so important and so calming actually, because exactly like you said, like the past doesn't matter, it's not here.
Mm-hmm.
And the future doesn't matter because you have no idea what's going to happen. And somebody said the other day as well how like we believe that I think it was Deepak Chopra actually. He's like, we believe that we know what's going to happen tomorrow because of our routines, but
Mm-hmm.
it's not guaranteed, you
Absolutely.
know? So
So
the power
true.
of this moment right now is the most important because this is all we know.
And then, of course, again, bringing back to, like, the climate of the world right now, it did shift that whole perspective because everyone had their routines. That was like, their safety net, their safeguard. And this is
Yes.
telling everybody, you know what? Hey, it's okay. We're going to have to adjust. Change. The only
Yes.
constant is change. But for those of us that can, like, recognize that this shift of changing routine is helping us to be able to adjust to change. So then that, you know, in our lives, no matter what changes may come, we'll be able to face it. We'll be able to just, you know, breeze right through it and you know, and say, hey, it's okay. And again, you know, you focus back to the things that help you, you know, to stay present, stay in the moment, and you know, getting to know yourself. I mean, we shared so many great nuggets. I mean, like it's amazing to hear, you know, people's stories, you know, because you never know. And anytime, you know, I hear of people that have had like, you know, near death experiences where they almost lost their life like you did, and times where, you know, like you said, you couldn't get out of bed, you wanted to quit, and you wanted to quit like on yourself, you wanted to quit something that you really love, you know, and just saying that those are the times that it really pushed you actually to recognize what you really love, that helped you to see what was most important. You know, those are the moments in our lives that really define who we are, because it's how we chose to respond to it, and then what we did with it, and then moving forward. You know, you tap back into your creative process in writing and drawing and singing, you know, and then also to reading. You read a lot, and so then you have essential oils and herbs and just, you know, just things to keep you things to keep you grounded, and things that, you know, because like life can be overwhelming. And you know, when you have these huge goals for you, like as an artist, this is something where, you know, you're putting your heart and your soul out there to the world, and you got to find things that work for you. And for those that aren't artists, or for those of you that, you know, you're stepping out and you're presenting yourself to the world, wherever it is that you may be, the people that are around you that see you, you know, you're going to need to find like, what are the things that help you so that you can make it through every single day. And I think that right now has been a really great time for, I hope, for people to really recognize that, you know, and see like, you know, you talked about, you know, writing down things that you're grateful for, and you know, to just shift your perspective.
I think the most important part is knowing that no matter the situation, no matter how bad or hard it gets, just to trust yourself that you'll be okay. You know, that you can get through it. You trust yourself and your abilities to be able to get through it and push forward. I think that's a really important lesson that I learned.
Yeah, absolutely. And never underestimate the power of energy. And like you were saying, you know, law of attraction, because mind you, you know, everybody, like, so I am in California, I'm in, you know, Los Angeles in the United States of America, and Camilla K is all the way in London. Yeah, no matter what, like, you are not alone in that sense, you know, because once you are true and authentic to yourself, and you know who you are, then you're gonna find your village, you know, and they could be like, they could be somewhere else, in the whole other, you know, side of the world. But just, you know that, like, you know, you're you, and just be you, celebrate who you are. But okay, thank you guys so much, and it was so wonderful to speak to you, and thank you so much for everything that you shared.
Seriously, thank you. I think this did more for me than it did for you. It's amazing. I really hope this platform of yours will grow more. I really look up to you and like everything that you've done. So yeah, I'm really grateful that you had this chat and a moment with me on here. So thank you.
Absolute pleasure. All right, sweet. Okay, thank you, everybody.
All right, thank you so much. Bye.